Defenders, in this video, let's talk about 3 tips that can make your self-defense fighting even more effective. Check it out. Number 1, let's talk about a few vulnerable or vital targets that you can hit to make your fighting even more effective. First, let's start in the top of the head area. Not the top of the head is in the top of the head. That's a pretty hard spot. And one of the things you want to do if you're self-defense fighting is take hard parts of your body and place them into softer parts of the opponent's body. So that's a thing. But let's talk about the side of the head for a second. Side of the head's great. You've got the ears, you've got the temple, you've got the jaw, right? The sides of the jaw, and you've got this whole beautiful neck area. And in this side of the neck area, we've got some really important arteries and veins and nerves that if you hit in this area can very easily shut down the nervous system, make the guy completely unconscious. That's number 1. Now if we take a look here on the front of our person, we've got a few other interesting targets that we can attack during a self-defense situation. The nose, right? It's just smashing right into the bridge of the nose can work very well. Hitting on the chin and then driving it back, either down and back, up and back, even just straight in and back can be very effective. Straight down from that, you can see where the neck muscles come in, right between the 2 clavicle muscles. You can't see with my beard, right? But we have this little notch in here. You can poke on it yourself and feel. You push in and down at the same time. It becomes a very effective way to make somebody move if they're trying to hurt you. Continuing down this center line of the body, just below the pectoral muscles and where the rib cage meets, you'll notice if you have, if you look at your skeleton or just feel on yourself, the ribs come up from the sides and meet into this solar plexus area. Another great spot to put in a nice shot. Tip number 2, what type of weapons, anatomical weapons, the things that are attached to your own body, can you use for these? You can use open hands, you can use a closed fist, you can use the forearms, you can use elbows, you can even use your shoulders. If you're going to use your own head, and headbutting is a very effective self-defense attack, but you want to use the hard part of your head, right? So up here more towards the top into softer parts. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's take a look at the side of our buddy here for a second. Now we talked about the ears, the temples, the side of the jaw, and the neck as being particularly good targets for your self-defense fighting. So simply enough, if we start with the open hand and just smack into the ears, you might be familiar with this one. It's pretty common. People talk a lot about smacking the ears. Can definitely be very effective. It can help disrupt their balance system because of the inner ear workings, how that inner ear workings go along with our balance. I can't think all the words I want to say at the same time, but so that's definitely a good one. Open hand slap is good for that. Now, if we get a little bit more sophisticated, it's really not even that sophisticated, to be honest with you. Cavemen can do this stuff, right? So if you close your fist though, and think about what your fist might look like if you had a knife or a stick or something like that, okay? Now, if for instance, you had an implement like this that you wanted to stick into something, right? You would hit that same way. So just imagine that you have something here, right? You would hit this way, right? Generally, you're gonna want to strike the object about at a 90-degree angle with whatever the object you're holding, right? So hit here versus some other weird angle. So with nothing in your hand, but you close the fist, right? We call this a hammer fist most commonly, and you're gonna hit with this bottom portion of the fist, right? But we wanna try to hit relatively flat 90 degrees. Not always, but most of the time. So you would imagine that you had something in your hand that you were trying to drive through your target. And whether you're hitting in the ear, in this temple area, right on this side of the ocular bones here, or the top of the cheekbone, but I would prefer, if not this upper side of the head right next to the ear, either right on that point of the jawline here, or into this nice little side of the neck area. fits really nice, that hammer fist, right in here, and it will allow you to get a lot of what we're going to talk about in our third tip into that strike. And you can even do this on the opposite side. So if we're going to consider, let's say this is my right hand and I'm going to hit to the left side of the person, we call this coming in, right? So it's moving from the outside of my body to the inside of my body. So an inward movement, you can do equally as good with an outward movement. So left side of my left side attacking this person's left side is out, away from my center line. Again, you can hit in the ear, you can hit in the temple, you can hit here on the side of the eye bone, right around this corner of the jaw, right here into the neck. All great ways to attack the attacker. Let's see how else we can attack the attacker. So we mentioned multiple targets here on this center line of the body. And by the way, in this video, we're only talking about some of the upper body targets and some of the upper body natural weapons. Let's say if we want to continue with the fist idea. Now we talked about the hammer fist. We can still do hammer fist to the front of the body. Depending on your position and your timing, you can easily hammer fist that nose. It can be a very effective way to do it. If you are off to the side of the person more, you can hammer fist into that solar plexus. That could work. You could even hammer fist into the floating ribs. You could even get into the kidney, but we'll talk about that in the future video. Okay, so those were some examples of how the hammer fist can work. Now, there's a thing called a vertical fist, right? Vertical, super easy, right? There's some good spots for this as well. Generally, again, it could be right into the nose, could be right into this, right into the chin here, driving everything backwards. Those are pretty simple. Even if you were off to the side of the person, you could do a vertical fist shot to this hinge or back of the jaw area. That will work nicely as well. So, but there's more than that. Check this out. All right, so we talked a second ago about some hammer fist and some vertical fists, but we also have this 45-degree or this diagonal fist, which is nice as well because one of my favorite spots for the diagonal fist is the solar plexus. Because of the way the rib cage comes up on both sides, it kind of creates this nice angle that if you were to hit with your horizontal fist, which we have not talked about, or vertical fist, those both work well, but when you contour the shape of the ribs with this diagonal fist, it can nicely sink right through the person's solar plexus. It's a great shot. Diagonal fist actually can also work nicely here on the neck, okay? And again, it's sort of, if we look at the side, look at the side of the person, you'll see these angular muscles coming down the side, right? So it almost makes like a nice little triangular area. So your fist can fit nicely in there. Not only, and this is the right side and the right fist, okay? So my knuckles are under his chin here, thumb is up, but you can actually hit pretty well with the inverted fist, right? So the left fist, knuckles are still here onto just underneath the hinge of the jaw, but thumb is down, but you still have that nice diagonal shot into that neck. It's a beautiful thing. Let's move on past the fist now, and let's talk about the forearms. The forearms, it's kind of like having your own club attached to your body, right? So this, for instance, is a pretty standard 26-inch collie stick. I mean, really, it's a dowel. So you can buy some cool-looking, burnt, rotational design collie sticks, or you can get a dowel from Home Depot or Lowe's. But all the same ways you would hit a person with a stick, or a knife, or a club, or a baseball bat for that matter, you can do with your own arm. The reason you can do that is because you got these nice, pretty solid bones here. Now, I wouldn't want to necessarily put my arm bone against the leg bone, but again, if you think back to the beginning of the video, we talked about hard parts of your body to softer parts of their body, right? This is a great instance of this. The forearm bone, usually up towards the wrist, but really you could use from the wrist down to the elbow. Taking across the side of the neck is great. If you needed to go directly into the front of the neck, you could do that as well. And you can even come in the side here. So we mentioned a moment ago as well about the difference between inward movements coming from the outside of your body to the inside of your body and outward movements from the inside of your body outward. So in this type of scenario, we're using a right arm to the left side of the neck. This is going to be an inward movement for us. And again, we're using this forearm like it's our own club or baseball bat or lead pipe or whatever, and we're coming to some of these targets in the side of the head that we talked about in the beginning. Boom. And we're going, this is an inward one, and here's an outward one. Right on. If we really wanted to go, we can work our way down into the elbow. Same idea. Inward elbow, outward elbow. We can, these, you know, I personally love these side of the head and side of the neck targets because they just can have such a devastating effect on the person. Elbows, actually, if you want, we can come up. Now we got that chin, boom. You can come down onto the nose with your elbows. You can come straight across if you'd like. You can come in straight across or at a downward diagonal with your elbow to that jawline as well. Outward diagonal to the jawline. And you can drive these elbows into that solar plexus as well. A lot of cool options. Tell you what, let's move on to tip number 3 that really helps put all this stuff together and make it even more effective than just knowing where to hit and with what to hit. Okay, tip number 3 that really puts all this stuff together and makes it super effective is, drumroll, body weight. That's right. Being able to put your body weight effectively into your strikes just opens up a whole new world, especially for smaller people, okay? Even if you're, let's say you're a small person, you're 100 pounds, and you have a 200-pound person attacking you. If you understand where to hit, with what type of natural body weapon you can hit, and how to use that 100 pounds to drive as much of your 100-pound weight in through your natural weapon and into that person. Listen, I'm over 200 pounds. I think at the time of filming, I'm close to 230, 6'1". I do not want a 100-pound object being thrust into me at high speeds. That's my personal preference. So let's talk about how to engage your own body weight. And here's a simple drill you can start with. Just, you can place your, if you have a friend to work with, just put your hands on them and start to lean into them, number 1. Number 2, you can learn about leaning in and pushing with the back leg. And then you can start just playing with placing your weapons that we've talked about already, whether it's your fist, vertical fist, diagonal fist, whether it's a forearm, whether it's one of these, whether it's an elbow, whether it's a forearm. And now learn how to push your friend with these objects. Do it on both sides. And this is a great drill for learning how to drive your body weight through your opponent. And you start slow. You place whatever tool you're going to use, whether it's a fist, a forearm, an elbow, a shoulder, your own head, or anything like that. Place it on the body, and then learn how to push your body weight through your friend, right? And then slowly start to pull away from the person, and then reach forward, touch them, and continue that body weight drive. By learning to engage the body weight into their strikes, like I said a few moments ago, it really opens up a whole new world of your ability to defend yourself even better. That's what I've got for you today. If you got any value out of this video, please like it, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.